Chairman, you're alive.
All righty. We'll come back to order and we're visiting with the Department of Audit, Mr. Chavez and Mr. Cummings. And you had some more questions you might be answering that came forward earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So next thing, just a note. So not all government entities in Wyoming are subject to GAAP. So the ones that are would be any entities subject to the Uniform Municipal Fiscal Procedures Act. So that's counties, first-class cities, which is defined as 4,000 or more people, school districts, community colleges, hospital districts. Towns, so 4,000 and less, are not subject to GAAP reporting, and the vast majority of your special districts are not subject to GAAP reporting. That mostly just applies to hospitals. So just so the committee's aware that we do have differing requirements based off of the type of entity you are. Some have to do GAAP, some can do cash. And then for the census report, they can report on a cash basis, regardless of what their audit has to be on. Other things I noted, there was a question about the non-compliance list and a conservation district. So that right-hand column, if it says no, they're currently non-compliant. So anybody that's non-compliant now is because we haven't received their CPA report. All of the census forms and documentation have been submitted. We don't have a CPA report. So just wanted to, for the committee's information, that anybody that's non-compliant now is going to be because of a missing CPA report. Little bit about public officer training. So statute does require that essentially your main financial person and your governing body have to take public officer training within a year of taking that office or position. Now, when this was first enacted, there were some other, I'll say, requirements, such as we had essentially the authority to say, hey, if based on what we're seeing, we think you need to take this training again, we could require that. And then there was a possibility that if you just flat refused to do the training, you could be removed from your position. So that was enacted. The very next legislative session, some of that stuff was taken away. There's been some changes to public officer training, but currently you are required to take it within a year of starting. There is no requirement to continue to take it. And it does allow that we provide training, or other entities can provide it if we approve their training. So just some additional information there on public officer training. And then some comments about the bill specifically. The first one, which was kind of touched on previously, is what are we wanting to address with non-compliance? And that's because not all audit findings would be something that would be considered non-compliance. You might have an audit finding that's non-compliance with law. So like you might have an audit report that says they overexpended their budget. That's a violation of law. That would be non-compliance. But a lot of audit findings are just like specific to accounting concepts that wouldn't be non-compliant with any type of law or regulation. And so I think you might want to at least define what you're wanting to address with non-compliance, because the language in the bill does mirror the non-compliance for census reporting, and that non-compliance is clear. If you don't submit the reports to us by the deadline, you're non-compliant. Whereas if you have a finding of, say, you don't have a review process, that's not violating any laws, but it's going to be an audit finding. And so I think for our purposes in trying to enforce what's here, we would need to know, what are you talking about for non-compliance? All audit findings, non-compliance with laws. So For us, this would be, the current language would be difficult to implement. The other thing here, just for committee information, is because it does again mirror the census non-compliance. An entity can come into compliance if they're non-compliant with census reporting. They can come into compliance immediately by submitting what they need to. Audit findings may not work that way. So say, for example, the finding is they overexpended their budget. Well, you're not going to know whether or not they repeated that until a year later. And so there might be instances where they can't come into compliance right away due to the nature of the findings. So maybe something to consider there. And then just as a more information about audits, some findings may not be able to be resolved to, I'd say, like the satisfaction of the auditor. I'll put it that way. So a good example is segregation of duties. So when you're talking financial stuff, to satisfy an auditor, you would need a minimum of 3 people involved in that process, ideally 4. If you're a small entity, you may not be able to do that without hiring additional people. So then you're saying, to solve this problem, you have to hire more people or we're going to withhold your money. So just something to think about, that there may be audit findings that, due to the nature of the entity, may not be fixable in a, I'll say, feasible manner. I mean, you could fix it by hiring more people to involve more people in the process, but would that be a reasonable solution? So you got some more, just more information. This bill, again, because it's mirroring the census non-compliance, that means this will have no effect on, for example, districts, special districts that are user fee based, because they get no money from the state, they get no money from the county. And so they may be non-compliant, there's nothing to withhold. That's an area where we've struggled basically as long as I can remember, is how do you address those instances, because there's nothing to withhold. It's all user fee based. So this would be the same thing. You might have a special district, say a water district, that has findings year after year after year. There's nothing to withhold because all of their revenues come from water fees. Similar with like improvement and service districts. And then just a last thing, that this would require additional work on our part. It's not stuff that we currently track to this level. The bill does require the entity to report to us if they've had a 3rd consecutive year, but as an audit entity, we can't rely on just them self-reporting. We would have to track it in order to really make sure that it was enforced the way it should be. So I bring that up just because we're fairly thin staffed. If you think about what statute charges us with versus the number of people we have to effectuate that. So I think I've kind of addressed all the questions I kind of logged through the previous discussion. So.
All right, Senator Ride.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, I was thinking of this before the lunch break. Just wanted to get it out before I forget to ask it. You made a comment, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're seeing more accounting problems than you have in the past. And if I took that wrong, let me know. But why is that? What do we do about it? And the last part of that question is, would maybe not as strict as Idaho, but would a penalty fix some of that as far as getting people from being too complacent about filing what they're supposed to be filing? Thank you.
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ide. So yes, it is accurate to say that we're seeing that more and more. And you had mentioned that you weren't at the previous meeting, but I touched on that a little in the previous meeting, that it's not just a Wyoming problem. It's a nationwide problem of more and more accounting issues. I think kind of the main issue is just the lack of people with that knowledge available. And so, I mean, we experience it when we're trying to hire auditors. We're not getting applications from people that have the ideal experience of an accounting degree or any kind of accounting or auditing experience. And so I think just kind of nationwide, there's less of that available. As you're getting, say, longtime experienced people with that knowledge retiring, there's not enough people to backfill that. So I think that's probably one of the main drivers. If there was a penalty, I think it kind of depends on why we have non-compliance as to whether or not that would be effective. I think for our census compliance, I think we've seen, and historically, that when money is withheld or not available, it has prompted those forms to be submitted. That's really all I can draw on, but I would say it probably depends on why the non-compliance is happening. If it's we're not able to hire somebody that has the requisite knowledge, I don't know if that addresses it. I think as far as solutions, I think something similar to the idea of what WAM is doing for some of its members, where maybe we have a central resource that if you don't have that in your own entity, you could leverage that. I think might be a viable option.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chavez, on this report that we received of the non-compliance, number 85 is Fremont County Rec Board. Is that the same rec board that was before us prior to this meeting?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lean, I can't say for sure. I would say, I think there's only, is it the Fremont 25 Rec Board?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Director, there is no number 25. It just says Fremont County Rec Board. That's why I was trying to look for some clarification.
My initial thought would maybe be yes, but I'd have to track that down for sure and let you know.
Follow up?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if it is that case, then the answer is no, they're not in compliance still now as of today. And that might have been one of the reasons that they had come before us. And then we're given these Johnson County charges of 9 years of failed audits. So my question is there any time that you as a director have been able to pass on some failure of audits to the Attorney General's office to be looked into?
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lean, we have at different points referred things to the AG's office. Whether or not anything's gone from there, I couldn't speak to.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you were talking about you're trying to find what does non-compliance mean. Question for you is, I assume that if expenditures exceed appropriations, for example, that's non-compliance, I would assume. I guess I'm asking that question. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, but.
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Locke, yes, that would be an instance of non-compliance.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Representative
Chair.
Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Follow up to that. Have you seen that in this case, in the case that we've been talking about today, or have you seen it in other cases? Can you give me kind of a quick summary of where you've seen that?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Locke. So in Johnson County specifically, yes, it shows up in multiple audits of exceeding a budget by department. So the statute says you can't exceed budget by department. So when you make your budget, say for a specific county department, whether it be treasurer's office, clerk's office, coroner, you can't exceed that without making that change in a public meeting. So yes, we have seen that in Johnson County in multiple audits. We've also seen that in other entities as well.
Follow up? Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So quick question. So in this particular case, these have been issues that have been resolved in completion of the audit, that, because we're talking about the audits supposedly are, quote, clean or clear, or whatever the right term is. These issues have been resolved, all of these in the current case?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Locke, so I think the current audit still has instances of exceeding the budget.
Thank you.
They could have been corrected by amendment, amending their budget.
Mr. Chairman, yes.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, could you talk to me about AI and what this looks like in the field of audits? We're continuously hearing that it's out to replace individuals, and we're hearing of shortages within the accounting world. Is there any talk or programming for which AI could be able to assist either you or municipalities and counties?
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lean. So for the municipalities, I can't speak to that. For us, yes, I think there are some applications. We've used it for some things in terms of like compiling information from audit reports, or we are exploring when we get budgets or census reports, we kind of know what those what common issues are. And so we're exploring using AI to identify that and then generate an exception report so that we can look at the stuff that we know is an issue and not have to spend time on the stuff that isn't. So for us, there is some application. I can't speak for other entities.
So the term census review, is that what you called it? Is that the same as the F-66?
Mr. Chairman, yes. So F-66, F-32 for special districts. Yeah, all of those forms.
Just so we know,
Mhm.
I didn't catch that earlier. Could we talked briefly before coming back? Can you explain the process on the F-60 or the census reports? I mean, entities could make those reports, and then you have the information, and if you had questions like expenditures are above the revenues and that sort of thing, you would reach back out to them. But these reports help you give a report at the end of the year.
Mr. Chairman, yes. So the census reports are the basis for the cost of government report that we're required to produce every December 31st. So when we get stuff that comes in, then we take a look at it. We review it to see, is there missing information? Is there stuff that just doesn't look right? We kind of compare across years, and then if we identify issues, we reach out to the entity to try to get issues resolved. So we generally do that, between the September 30 and mid-December, so that then we can compile all of that information for the cost of government report.
Any other questions? Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the issues that Representative Locke brought up, issues of expenditures exceeding budgets, and you said that there was still some non-compliance. I see some head shaking from the Johnson County folks back there, maybe that disagree with that. So I don't know if you want to address that or bring them back up here to defend whatever.
Bring them back up.
Yeah. Want to come back up, you guys? We could go.
You want them right now? Okay.
No, whenever.
Yeah, I was
Whenever.
planning on
Okay,
afterward.
Perfect. No,
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the Department of Audit? Yes, Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has Johnson County's county attorney assisted the Attorney General in any investigations with the Johnson County reports?
Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lean, I can't speak to that.
Any other questions for the Department of Audit? I don't see any. Hopefully you'll stick around and we may need to call you back. We're still kind of discussing our bill proposal yet. Is there any other public comment? And would Johnson County like to come back up? Mr. Craigo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so that was a finding on a previous audit. That's all been corrected. I mean, I have our current audit report right here. That's not a finding. And really what it was is we had a grant come in at the airport board. It was a failure to communicate that. Those budgets then have to go through the county commissioners. It didn't get done. And so you had money being expended without the grant showing up. So we have since remedied that through, we have a different protocol with our airport board now, but that's what happened. It was a component entity, didn't really notify the commissioners like they should have so that we could adjust the budget, as the director said, in a public budget hearing, which you have to do. So it wasn't money they were counting on. It wasn't in the original budget. It came in later. We should have done a budget amendment and we didn't. And so we've since fixed that problem.
Are there prior years, or this is the one you're specifically talking about is last year's, or?
Mr. Chairman, I don't remember what year that was. I'm just saying someone had asked, maybe Representative Lean had asked the director about whether that was still on our current audit findings. The answer is no. So.
Follow up or anything else? Yep. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The director was up here. He said that there have been instances where he's referred cases to the Attorney General's office. In the alleged 9 years that Johnson County has been deficient, has the Johnson County Attorney worked with the Attorney General's office in any regard?
Mr. Craigo.
Mr. Chairman, we've not been deficient in any manner, shape, or form that would require the assistance of the Attorney General. Remember, we've had the same two findings for as long as I can remember, which is lack of internal controls and the gap finding. I have not talked to the Attorney General, nor has the Attorney General talked to me regarding our audit findings.
Thank you.
I have a question. I heard from the Department of Audit that you could make this F-66 or F-32 or census report on time, even though you didn't get audited. Is that not workable or ever been thought of going that route, or can you enlighten me?
Mr. Chairman, Johnson County submits that on time. So the census form that I believe is put together by either our clerk or our treasurer. So I guess I'm not fully grasping what the question is there.
I kind of thought that you were late on that one, but it sounds like you're not. Okay. Hopefully I'm getting nods like this.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to say we've never been late on anything. I mean, we're not making that certification today. I can tell you we're the only county that doesn't have an entity on the non-compliant report. That's all I can tell you. So as of today, Johnson County is good. There are other county entities, or lots of those are municipalities that are on that list, hundreds of them. We are not. So I don't, not going to tell you we've never been late, because I'm sure we have. There's just things that happen and you try to get it done. For example, on a year when you have a new treasurer or a new clerk and they're trying to learn the process, and they might be a week late. They might be more than that late. I'm not saying it has happened. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it hasn't. Like, I don't think that's a fair thing to tell you today. All I can tell you is we're fully compliant, and every entity in our county is fully compliant. That's all I know for sure.
Any other questions for Johnson County? Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is just a quick note, but I would be curious on that exceeds. I have a list of things here, and again, to respect your comment before asking too many details in the absence of advance, but I would be curious to if you guys would produce a list of the cases where you might have had expenditures exceed appropriations, at least in the findings. I would be curious if you've have a history of that. I would be very interested in seeing that, if that's something you could produce, rather than me because I think there were some additional cases. I think the one you mentioned is probably here, but I think there might have been some others. And I would just be curious, rather than me start to nitpick on that, I think you made a good point earlier, which is trying to hit you with the details when walking in here in the absence of advance. So that's something I think this committee, it would be good for the committee to at least see what those were and how they were resolved would be a healthy thing to do. At least that's my recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Novotny.
Senator Larson, Representative Black, we are happy to provide you. The only other one that I'm aware of is an Economic Development Joint Powers Board that spent more money and didn't realize that they had to file an amended budget. But that is the only other one that I'm aware of. But we will go back and research that and forward that on to the committee.
Any other questions? Don't see any. Thank you guys for, gentlemen, for coming up here again. We'll be back. All right. I think we're back on. Is there any other public comment on this proposed bill? Yes, please. Come on up. Please tell us your name and who you're with.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jan Loftus. I live in Johnson County. I'm a taxpayer in Johnson County. And I just have very few comments. From previous comments today in the room, I've heard that Star Valley is smaller, but is compliant with GAP. And I thought that that was interesting and should be considered. The bill draft, I heard it stated that 3 years, and that is a long time for compliance, in my view. Johnson County is, like much of Wyoming, fairly wealthy, and revenues were up 78% between 2019 and 2025. Expenditures were up 26%. So there was an excess of tax of 7.5 million. So looking at contracting perhaps with a CPA or something of that nature to get the gap done seems reasonable to me, that would be an important use of taxpayer money. I too, like previously heard, would not like to grow government, but then there are necessary expenditures of government. And I think a contract might be a good use. That's a thought I have. Wyoming does not want the appearance of fraud, even the appearance. And we've seen it across this nation this year in the news all over the place. I won't name states, but we can all think of some states that just pop into our heads. We don't want to be considered that way. Two more points. I spoke to a citizen last week, and this was a completely open-ended question. I said, what are your concerns about government? And she said, property tax first. And the second one, she said, was fraud. She said, I look around the country and I'm seeing all this fraud. So the suggestion I would have for this bill would be compliance, in my understanding, is deadlines. But I would like to see compliance be including receipts and things of that nature, that it digs in deeper than just the deadlines. That's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there questions for Ms. Loftus? Thank you for being here. I don't see any questions. Thank you for your testimony. Any other public testimony? Please. Please tell us your name and who you're with.
Ed Houston, I'm with Johnson County. I've listened to all of this, and what I hear is a lot of complaining about not getting stuff done. Audits and all this stuff. And my comment here is from being in business for 35 years. And if I was late on my sales tax, I got punished. On my income tax, I got punished. All of this stuff. Well, why ain't these counties across the state and stuff held to the same responsibilities that I am as a businessman or even as a citizen? If I don't pay my property tax on time, it's a big punishment, you know. So I guess as far as this bill goes, I'd like to see more like some of these other states, some punishments or whatever, which is kind of stupid in one way because that's my tax dollars going to get paid out. So, but anyway, and the other thing I see is I probably can't be done, but I think if you're going to run for clerk and treasurer in these places, you ought to at least, there ought to be a qualification to be able to count. I had to do it in my business. I had to do my own bookwork. It ain't that hard. You add up a bunch of numbers, and then when I went to my bookkeeper, here's what I made, here's what I spent. And I don't see where these paid citizens can't be doing the same stuff. So in this, basically in this bill, I'd like to see some stuff like that take place where these places are held accountable to on-time stuff. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Please hold up. I think we might have a question. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. Your thoughts are well articulated. Those kind of go down the road of my thinking on this too. That's why I keep bringing it up. It's like nobody acts until you're going to get penalized. No oil and gas lease ever gets drilled until there's an expiration date. You know what I mean? There needs to be things in place to force action. And I don't know what the answer to that is for sure. It's good listening to your side. I know, like you said, in private sector, you get penalized for everything that you don't comply with to the federal government, whether your income taxes or your payroll taxes or unemployment taxes. You better get it done or you're going to pay more. So thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any other. Thank you for coming forward and testifying
Mr.
and
Chairman.
coming down. Any others in the public would like to comment on this bill proposal? Don't see any. Okay, we're going to go to see what the committee directives are. What do we want to do with this bill proposal? Are we any? Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move the bill.
Okay, we have a motion to move the bill. And we have a second from Senator Ide. All right. Are there any amendments that anyone would like to come forward with? Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a specific language for it. Do we have another meeting? Is this our last meeting at Management Audit? This is it? But I asked the question earlier to Mr. Anderson about, formulating something. I don't know. I would like to have a tripwire somewhere to where you're paying a penalty other than waiting 3 years and just getting your share of your state income tax or state sales tax. Some of these that we've looked at in Idaho, Colorado, there's a few of them that are pretty benign. I think maybe the Idaho one's a little onerous, but I don't know, a discussion there. I'd kind of like to see a little something in there to force people to look at that deadline or we're going to end up paying. So any comments on?
So is that a question maybe directed to the LSO? And I don't know if they can
Sure.
answer it that quick. If there's somewhere it probably, I don't know, in this bill proposal where you could put that, or are we opening up different statutes?
Mr. Chairman, I think it could fit in this bill if that's where the committee wants to go. I think we need to decide, if you wanted to use Idaho or something similar, I think. But I need a little more direction from the committee before I could try to figure out exactly what the language might look like.
Just a quick question, would that probably be entered in all those 3 different areas, or you don't know at this time, I guess? But
Mr. Chairman, I think it would work as another paragraph and just say, in addition to the penalties under 5 and 6, we could do a new 7 and then and make it applicable to both of those. But again, I think it would depend on the specifics of where the committee might want to go.
Senator Ide, can you move the mic closer? I think people are having troubles hearing some of this. Thank you.
So to get things started, I would make a motion to add some language like in a number 7 maybe to the bill that has, and this is pretty benign language, and maybe you could articulate this a little better for me and to understand, but the Montana one says if a local government fails to file a financial report as required, the department will either assess a monthly penalty of 10% of the required filing fee. You guys can all read that on there. I won't drone on about that. And then the last sentence says, additionally, the department will assess a $75 fine and provide public notice when an entity fails to file a report within 180 days of the due date. I think that's pretty minimal. And as Senator Craigo said, I'm not trying to create more bureaucracy here. That's the last thing that we want, but there needs to be something, or I think these other local municipalities will just start seeing, hey, what does it matter? We can wait 3 years before they're going to twist our tail. So that language right there would be my proposed language, and we can work on that from there. Thank you.
Is there a second? Representative Locke seconded that. So I guess we'll, I don't know, go to discussing that with the committee if there's some discussion. And I don't know if Mr. Anderson's had time to contemplate the wording, but you kind of said you were trying to copy, what was it, Montana? Maybe.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that was just sort of starting point there. If there's anybody that can tell me whether they think that this makes more, bureaucracy, I'd like to hear that. I don't know as it does. It's just another sort of a guard against everybody just not complying with what the state law is and waiting for 3 years, just something to goose it a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, Senator Rothfuss.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if it's more bureaucracy, but I do have concerns about the concept and depending on the mechanism that's used, if it's withholding, for example, sales tax or however else it's done. If it's withholding sales and use tax, you've got a situation where taxpayers paid in the taxes. So these are the taxpayers. They had nothing to do with and no fault of anything that took place through any deficiencies that were raised. And yet their taxes are being withheld so that they don't come back to their local jurisdiction and don't pay for the services that they're paying for. So the penalty never goes to the city or the county or anyone like that. It always goes back to the people, because remember, the city and the county, they're not corporations, they're not entities, they're just political organizations that are representing the people. So if you withhold, and I'm being arbitrary here, you withhold $70,000 from a county, they don't say darn and suffer. They say, all right, well, we can't afford that deputy sheriff this year. So I don't know how good things happen as a result of a penalty of this this type where we're withholding taxes that were paid by those taxpayers from their use for beneficial service. I understand the intent of getting compliance, but this mechanism is not an appropriate mechanism because all it does is hurt the people.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, that's what good comments, makes you think about it, but what's it costing the taxpayers for the Department of Audit to continually, with 9 consecutive years, keep, they need staff too, to keep forcing the issue. And, are we getting more bureaucratic there and need more people in the Department of Audit to police the ones that aren't complying?
Senator Rothfuss.
Well, my response to that is, honestly, from testimony that we've heard today, the actual implications and impacts, I am not compelled that bad things and nefarious things are honestly happening. And that was why I asked the question I did. What's the difference? There really wasn't any. And so the cost that I'm seeing, honestly, the only cost associated with this that I'm seeing is the cost of them having to travel here to provide the testimony at this point in time, which is significant. The cost of our operations, we've been great bureaucrats on this one. The issues that we're working through here have been heavily bureaucratic. They're filing hundreds of pages. They're traveling across the state. So I do see a little bit of growth in bureaucracy, but not due to legislation necessarily, and not due to what we're hearing about the audits, which again, I'm just not compelled yet that anyone's done anything wrong. Findings are not failure. Findings occur, I should have asked this question, what percentage? Findings in an audit occur in probably every audit I've ever read. I don't know if I've ever read an audit where there wasn't findings. And those findings are flags. It's like you screwed this up a little bit. But I don't recall ever seeing an audit where there wasn't findings. Maybe we could ask one of our experts that does this, ask the Department of Audit if I'm wrong there, but I don't think so. So what I see this bill doing, and particularly the amendment, is penalizing the public for something which really isn't a problem in a way that could cause a problem. And that, that's an issue. I know you, Senator, that's exactly what you don't like about government, right? That's it. Don't have the government cause more problems. I feel like we're that government right now.
Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I guess I'm confused. And I'm confused about, maybe I misunderstood. So let me back up. The amendment was, I believe, was the Montana amendment, and in there's references a filing fee, which I don't know that we have. Okay, so the 10%. So I'm a little confused because there's a discussion on withholding sales tax, which I did not think was part of this. So I'm seeing this as different. I'm thinking the 3 years is the sales tax component of this. I did not see these two as colliding. So if I'm misunderstanding, maybe I need clarification as to what the amendment is. And we do have this issue, I think, within the amendment of the fact that there isn't a filing fee. So what's the 10% against? And having seconded the motion, trying to get the conversation going so I understood what we were doing, that's where I'm confused. Because I know the senator down the way is talking about it, the sales tax withholding, which I thought was separate. So I was thinking this was more of some kind of a fee, a monthly fee that says, get your reports in on time, at least, and somehow not connecting it to a filing fee that we don't have. So I guess I would like to change, at least make sure I understand what the amendment is, and maybe we have a conversation on that in a little more detail so I know better. I'm sorry, I wanted to get the conversation started, so I'm still not clear on what this amendment is, and if we can make sure that's clear, that'd be helpful for me. Thank you.
Senator Ide, do you have a comment?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Locke. Yeah, that's why I made the motion, is to sort through all this, and maybe Mr. Anderson can help us out. Do we, is there a filing fee and does that language even make any sense? I was just looking for one that's a little benign that maybe triggered people to start talking about it. But so, I mean, I always get nervous if I have a $25 penalty on anything. Nobody wants to pay that if you don't have to, and if you can get your work done on time. So, Mr. Anderson, I don't know if you can help us out there.
I might interrupt and maybe ask the Department of Audit to come back up and maybe they can help us out on this also if needed. So we'll go to Mr. Anderson
Mr.
first.
Chairman, so I don't know for sure if we have any kind of filing fee. I'm just looking at what Montana has just for, so it's based on the amount of revenue the entity has, and it ranges from $550 to $2,500. So 10% of that, so $50 to $250 would be the amount of the penalty.
Do you maybe have a comment, Mr. Chavez?
Mr. Chairman, just that there is no filing fee for filing any reports that come to us.
Do you understand anything on the Montana side of what they may be doing? Is it?
Mr. Chairman, I haven't looked at that in terms of what they're doing, so I couldn't speak to it.
Are we clear or do we want more clarification? Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So would it be, I'm just throwing this concept out, is it more of a, instead of doing this 10% of something we can't put our finger on, is it more of a make it flat $100 or $75 fee or something? Is that more of what we intend here? I guess I'm throwing that out as a question to the bringer of the amendment. And is that something that would be more in line with what you were thinking? So.
Senator Ide, I just maybe, if it's okay to interject, I see on the Montana one where they said additionally, the department will assess $75 fee and provide public notice when an entity fails to file a report within 180 days of due date. And I don't know if that's something you'd consider or not.
Mr. Chairman, that's exactly where I was going to go with it too. I think that's it's something, at least it's something to maybe wake somebody up saying, hey, have you filed that yet? There's a $75 fee here if we don't get things going here pretty quick. So I would move to just leave that one sentence in there, take additionally out and make a $75 fine if you don't comply within 180 days. Change my amendment.
I'm just going to ask and provide public notice.
Yes.
Wording. Okay.
Yep.
Is everybody clear on that? Discussion. Yes, Senator Rothfuss.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So the argument that I provided a minute ago still stands. It's just at a smaller scale, I think, and I appreciate the clarification of how the money would be structured, not coming out of sales and use tax, but now as a specific fee. That's certainly clearer. But again, what we're basically doing is what we hate the federal government when they do, which is we want them to file a report. And if they don't do it in a timely fashion, we're the state and we're going to bill them for it. We're going to penalize them. So this is just the bigger government chewing on the smaller government because we can. And to me, that is bureaucracy. That's big government. And I just don't see how the state and the people of these cities, counties, towns are better off for us penalizing them. I don't even know if I see that we're gaining an awful lot by asking them for all these reports, but we've been doing that. I haven't been compelled that it helps necessarily, but we've been doing that. But to now penalize them for non-compliance, I just don't know that that's our authority. That's just big government to me.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When it comes to these taxing entities, there are billions of dollars floating around Wyoming that have no oversight if we don't have some kind of enforcement mechanism to have them at least file a compliance report with the Department of Audit. Therefore, I'd be on and for this amendment.
Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to address the big government conversation with Senator Rothfuss, I mean, it's not just government, the private sector. If there's no incentive for people to pay on time, this is a little different. This is compliance with their reporting, but if your rent's due on the 1st and you haven't paid by the 5th, and there's a fine on the 5th if you haven't paid, that's not big government. That's incentive for somebody to get up and write a check before the rent's due, and without getting penalized. So I don't look at this, nominal fine here. All it is it's an alarm bell to say, let's get our work done here, and maybe we can get it done a little more efficiently and save the taxpayers money if we do it right away. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rothfuss.
Just a quick final response on that. I do see it as different. With the private sector, there's a profit motivation, individual wealth motivation, because the fee is going to the individual and affecting the individual or entity that has failed to comply. So that's why that process works well, and it's a good motivation. Taking the public's money from the public because their representatives failed to comply in a timely way is very different. It would be like, again, the federal government coming back and providing a penalty to the public of Wyoming because we, the legislature, failed to file a report on time. Well, they didn't do it. They're not the ones who did it, and it's their money. So it's just a breakdown of responsibility. You can apply a penalty. I'm not saying you can't do this. Of course, we can do this statutorily. But are you penalizing the public in general? And the answer is yes. Or are you penalizing those that are responsible for the mistake? And the answer is no. Of course, we can do it, but this just doesn't target the intended target. All it does is take, and fortunately it's a small amount of money, so obviously it won't be egregious and won't have any major effects on that deputy sheriff I mentioned a little while ago. But at the end of the day, assessing fees on the public because of actions taken by their representatives is punishing the wrong target.
Representative Williams, sorry I missed you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the last two speakers, Senator Ide and Representative Lean, said it well. It comes down to government oversight and the importance of that. I don't think it's any secret that we've seen some pretty alarming audits come across this committee on and in favor of the amendment.
Any other discussion? Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In our good Constitution, Article 16, Section 7 says that any county or political subdivision shall be audited. And so therefore, I recommend that we continue to follow our Constitution and put some motivation behind those audits to be turned in timely with this amendment.
I'd like to just comment that provide public notice, I think, is a vital part of this amendment, that let's get it out in the public so the public knows that maybe certain people in leadership maybe not doing what they're supposed to. So any other discussion? We have a question, Representative Knapp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, in response to the public having to pay, through a penalty, I think it's still a good idea because you've got elected officials sometimes in treasurer positions that have been there for 30 years. And if the public's more aware that they're not meeting requirements for reporting or something's going on, that's what elections are for. And if there's a history of paying penalties that the taxpayers have had to pay, then at least they know they might have somebody that's not experienced enough or isn't willing to get themselves experienced to be on time with the audits.
Any other discussion on this amendment? Do you have some wording, Mr. Anderson, to make sure we're all hearing the right thing, the same thing?
So, Mr. Chairman, just one bit of clarification is, there's an existing report in that's required and that's penalized, and then this bill was mirrored after that. And is this additional fee or fine, is this for that existing report or for the report in this bill? And I just wanted to clarify that, Mr. Chairman.
I would have the same question. Is this for the F-66 census report is kind of what you're asking? And is this the proper place to put it if it's for that? And I guess we need to ask you if it's a
And
proper
Mr.
place.
Chairman, I think it still is the right place. So the withholdings in paragraphs 2 and 4 are related to that report. And then this adds a new 5 and 6. So I think it still would be the correct area, but I just wanted to clarify.
Senator Wright, is that what you wanted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other discussion? I don't see any. We'll go ahead and do a hand vote on this also. Those in favor of this amendment, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those opposed, raise your hand. I see 6-2. Is that what you saw? Okay. So the amendment is added. Is there any other discussion on this proposed bill? If no one else brings it up, do you have one?
No, sir.
I have a question on the definition of finding of no compliance. I think that was brought up a couple times from Johnson County and maybe the Department of Audit. And I don't know if we want both to come up here and explain or help us. I'm concerned about that too. I don't know if anybody else is, if they want to make an amendment to define finding of non-compliance. And I can ask LSO if they have an idea where that could be put also.
So Mr. Chairman, one of some of the discussions suggested, and I don't know if it's that easy of a fix, but to say finding of non-compliance with Wyoming law or something to that effect. So that's a non-compliance with law rather than just any kind of audit finding. And maybe that would help clarify it. I don't know. But I would certainly defer to the others in the room that if they have additional direction.
Is it okay with the committee if we bring forward the Department of Audit and maybe Johnson County and maybe they could comment a little bit for us if that's all right? That's what I would like. Maybe we'll go to Mr. Chavez first, and you heard what Mr. Anderson said. Do you want him to repeat it, or you kind of understand?
Mr. Chairman, so I think it comes down to what you guys want to address. So if you say non-compliance with law, that will be a much narrower scope, and you would then leave out audit findings that aren't related to a violation of law. So it really depends on what you're wanting to capture. But non-compliance would not include a whole host of audit findings that may or may not be serious issues. It would be with the proposed wording would just be you violated law.
Mr. Crago, do you have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I don't. I mean, my previous comments were just that you need to define non-compliance, what you mean by non-compliance, because as I mentioned earlier, to us, non-compliance means failure to file on time, failure to include all the right documents with filing. It doesn't include audit findings in and of themselves, which are never called non-compliant or compliant. So just for our purposes, knowing what the committee means, and I think the director gave you a good idea of what he thinks. And so depends how narrow you want to go. If you want to, it will be pretty limited if you go to non-compliance with Wyoming law, because a lot of the ones we've talked about today are not going to fit that description because they're not violating law. They're violating standards, not in Wyoming law.
Thank you for your comment. Was there a motion to put that amendment in there? I don't. Representative Lean?
Mr. Chairman, maybe just a question for LSO, if I might.
Oh, I think that'd be great.
So on here where it just says a good cause for non-compliance or, third finding of non-compliance. Is there verbiage that we might be able to find that just says something to the effect if you're on the non-compliance report consecutively for 3 years?
I think so, Mr. Chairman. I guess I don't know for sure what the non-compliance or what exact report that would be, Mr. Chairman, if I could have some.
Mr. Chavez, I think he might want to
So
comment.
I would assume we're talking the non-compliance report that the department puts on its website and provides to the Department of Revenue after September 30th. That's what I would assume Representative Lean is. I think that's what she's got in her hand. So if an entity hasn't reported what they should or on time. Now, that report again would speak nothing to audit findings. It's just, have you submitted the required reporting on time?
Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So question for you. I assume that the compliance reporting is in statute. Yes, so those are perfect examples of things that statute-wise you would be breaking. If you were non-compliant, that's what you'd be breaking. Can you summarize? I think we have can you summarize what some of the other major statute? Is that too difficult to do, or can you give a few examples?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Locke, additional examples of like non-compliance, is that what you're looking for? So, because like that report that's statutory, like I say, is purely, have you provided the reports you're supposed to, and have you provided them on time? So if you have an audit finding, that's not part of this report. So if you had, say, a finding of exceeding your budget, that would be non-compliance with law. That has nothing to do with this report, because this report statutorily is just, have you submitted the reports that you're supposed to and done so on time?
Representative Locke.
Thank you. So that kind of answers my questions a little bit. So that report's just one example of a statutory item, but these other ones, but there are other statutes that are potentially broken. And so if we said, so if we put the by law, it would be narrower, but it wouldn't be the finding of, I don't remember, we talked about a few of them earlier, but it wouldn't be the finding of, a material weakness would not be in there. The staff needs training. I don't know, I'm winging it a little bit here, but those would not be in there. But the ones that would matter are things like the gap report, because I would assume the gap reporting, for example, reporting to gap is probably part of a statute, right? I would also assume that exceeding your appropriations with your expenditures, that's a statutory break, right? So those are good examples. Those are examples, I hope, that are.
So it's Mr. Chairman, Representative Locke, I would say the gap thing, probably not. Because if you have an audit report that says you have an unqualified opinion, that says you're compliant with gap. So that finding is saying they don't have people employed by the entity that know how to do that. But that audit is saying they comply with gap. So it's a little bit of a disconnect there. I say the other thing is, I'm assuming, because I think the bill makes mention to audits that we do as well. So a CPA audit in terms of compliance with law is going to be looking at a much narrower set of laws because they're only required to look at laws that could have a significant effect on their audit objective, which is, are things accurate? When we do our audits, we're looking at, we make various statutory requirements part of what we look at. So in our audits, you might see, for example, treasurers are required to be bonded. You might see a finding in our report that their treasurer's not bonded. That's a violation of statute. I won't say never, but you're not likely to see that in a CPA audit report because it has no bearing on whether or not the financial statements are accurate. So we do in our own audits much more statutory compliance work. So there's differences in types of audits too. So I think it really comes down to what do you want to address?
Representative Lean.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion to strike the word noncompliance and put in violations of Wyoming statute 9-1-507 AVII and 16-4-121 A and C.
Committee, you got to help me here. I think we already had an amendment on the floor. Is that not correct?
I think we did.
You didn't move that amendment.
That was, no. I don't think anybody proposed an amendment yet, did they?
No. Okay. Can you tell us that again?
Yeah, and for those of you that have the non-compliance report in your hands, it is underneath the bold print at the top of the page there. And it just says to strike the word non-compliance on page 2 and have it say violations of Wyoming statute 9-1-507 A VII and 16-4-121 A and C. And then that amendment would also go on this page 3, line 17, strike non-compliance and insert the same.
All right. Does Mr. Anderson have that? And does that fit in with everything, I guess, statutes?
So, Mr. Chairman, so I think I have the citations. There's a few different places I would need to make that same change, or we need to make that same change, and or just define non-compliance as that. But I certainly have that, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, so I would just say that with that, current statute already does what that would do. Because current statute already says if you're not in compliance with the census reporting, which is your 91507 Romanet 7 and your 164121, that's your census reporting and your CPA reporting. So current law already addresses that. In terms of saying that your sales and use and lodging tax has to be withheld from cities, towns, and counties, and then county treasurers have to withhold any distributions from special districts. So current law would already address that.
And that doesn't even require 3 years then?
Mr. Chairman, correct. It's if you're not compliant this current year, your funds are withheld until you come into compliance with those requirements.
We have an amendment to do what Representative Lean said. Is that still on the table, and is there a second?
I would second it, but I'm not sure how that changes what it says here right now.
Okay, we have a second from Senator Ide, and now we'll discuss the amendment. And hopefully somebody Representative Locke.
Okay, so now I am really confused. So if we put this in there, what I think I heard, thank you, Mr. Chairman, sorry. What I think I heard you say is we actually change the current compliance, which is you're failing compliance if you don't turn these reports in now, right? Within some amount of time of your September 30th deadline, right? So this takes, if I heard correctly, that means this takes it to the 3-year mark for non-compliance with getting your reports filed? Is that what I just heard, or please clarify?
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Locke, what I would say is it sets up conflicting language. Because current language already says if you're not compliant with reporting requirements, your money's withheld until you come into compliance. The bill draft, my recollection of the conversation was trying to address audit findings. But this doesn't, current statute doesn't address audit findings. And then the current bill draft language is nebulous as to what we're trying to address. So, but I think it would create conflicting language because we're saying non-compliance for 3 years with this statute, but there's already statute that says if you're not compliant with these statutes, your funding is withheld as of October until you come into compliance. So again, it comes down to what are you wanting to address? Are you wanting to address compliance from the standpoint of submitting reports? Are you wanting to address audit findings? Compliance in terms of submitting reports, statute already addresses.
Thank you. Any other discussion, Senator Representative Locke?
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I want to, I'm sorry, I'm going to drag this conversation back to audit findings that would fall outside of statutory, that would fall into the statutory failure requirements. Can you give us some of those examples again to make this clear? Because I think in the absence of that being clear, I can't understand where we're at on this problem. So thank you.
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Locke. So like exceeding your budget, that would be something that would be in a CPA report that would be a violation of law. If you had, say, I would say if you had a CPA audit report that had a disclaimer of opinion, that's going to be a violation of law because that's saying we can't determine we can't determine that financial statements are in compliance with GAAP. If you were looking at our audits, you would have probably a whole host of stuff, bonding, investment policy. Like, again, our audits that we do have a much wider scope for statutory compliance than a CPA audit. And that's because of the objective of a CPA audit versus what our audits do.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to withdraw my amendment.
Second agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the amendment has been withdrawn. We're back on the bill. Any other discussion?
We better pass something. We lost our no votes.
Personally, I think we're still having issues on defining finding of non-compliance. And I think we had a couple suggestions. Is there any interest with the committee to do that? Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I don't have the language here in my head, but the part that would be, I don't know that we use the word finding in here, but would be the audit. Well, maybe you do have to use findings where that are non-compliant with Wyoming law or something like that. I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, so I'll do my best. Is there some language we can insert here that narrows it down to those things, those failures that of Wyoming law? Can we make a statement in there that that clarifies it that way?
So, Mr. Chairman, so I think if that's the direction the committee wants to go, I think on line, or page 2, line 16, if we just said non-compliance with, and add the word with Wyoming law, I think then it would say the audit contains the same or substantially similar finding of non-compliance with Wyoming law for a period of 3 years.
So before I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, can I ask, is that narrows it, or is, what issues, I guess, I'll tell you what, I'll move that change and then maybe we can discuss if there's a second. So I'll move that change. That was just discussed by Mr. Anderson. Thank you.
There's an amendment moved by Representative Locke, seconded by Representative Lean, to insert findings of non-compliance within this state law. With Wyoming law. I guess my first comment would be, I think we're back to where we were just 10 or 15 minutes ago. But maybe not. Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, not in the same place, because now we've said findings of non-compliance with Wyoming law. That defines it quite a bit more for us, that if the audit report identifies violations of law, that's a lot clearer than saying non-compliance. So it's a lot clearer for us. It is fairly narrow scope.
Okay. And does that include exceeding budget and?
So it would include, yes.
Things you had talked about.
Yes, it would include anything that's not, I'd say, purely an accounting concept. So for example, what you might see is I might have reported accurately and on time every single time, but as auditors, we like to see that there's some sort of review process. And so even if you submit accurately on time every time, but you don't have someone reviewing that, as an auditor, we would have an audit finding. That's an audit concept, an audit best practice, and not a so it does give us, that type of wording does give us some clarity. It's in terms of what direction you want to go.
Any addition to that? And any discussion, those online? All right. We're somewhere. Mr. Anderson, do you have the wording and where we're putting it and such?
Yeah, I think so. So it'll be that same wording. It'll be on page 2, line 16. It'll also be in a few other spots throughout the bill. I'll make the same change.
And what is that wording? Finding of non-compliance within state law?
With Wyoming law.
With Wyoming law. Okay. Everybody's clear? All right. All those, we're going to raise our hands. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. I think we're all in favor of that motion. All right. Any other amendments? All right, I don't see anybody. Guess we'll go to a roll call to move this bill forward.
Mr. Chairman, I will say that we have Representative Sherwood and Representative Dockstead are not online right now, just for your edification. But with that being said, this is a roll call for 27 LSO 0115. Senator Dockstetter.
Excused.
Senator Ride.
Aye.
Senator McEwen.
I think you're muted.
Aye.
Senator Olson.
Excused.
Senator Rothfuss,
Excused.
Representative Lean,
Aye.
Representative Locke.
Aye.
Representative Williams,
Aye.
Representative Sherwood,
Excused.
Vice Chairman Larson,
Aye.
Chairman Knapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that is 7 ayes and 4 excused.
Thank you. All right. We're on to item number 6, 2:30. And we're about on time. Good job, guys.
I'm just gonna tell you.
We're really moving. All right. Item 6 is legislative subpoena penalty. Whoop. Sorry, everyone. We do have folks from Campbell County Cemetery District. And I missed you getting up here before we voted on that, but we're ready to have you come forward. So we are not on item 6. We're listening to Campbell County
Yes,
Cemetery District.
yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Please tell us your name and who you're with.
I'm Dean Vomhoff and from Campbell County. And I'm also the treasurer of the cemetery.
I'm Faye Mackey from Gillette, representing myself as a taxpayer.
Good afternoon. My name is Rolf Ahrens from Gillette, Campbell County, representing myself as a taxpayer. Thank you.
Are you all up here for the same topic?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And not sure, do we have anybody else online on this same topic? No. Okay. Go ahead, whoever wants to start.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. I put together a packet that includes a statement that I will read, a letter I wrote to the paper last year, and a copy of the response from the state of Wyoming Department of Audit. Also, a copy of a letter of our cemetery president gave our board to persuade them to fund economic development, energy capital. I've been on Campbell County Cemetery Board for 6 years, served as treasurer for the past 4. When I became treasurer, I found that we'd been giving funds to 3 nonprofits. Happy Girls Don't Do That, Campbell County Chamber of Commerce, and Energy Capital Economic Development. We send fund to Happy Girls every few months and call it advertising. We are members of the Chamber of Commerce and give them $1,170 per year. Economic Development receives $10,000 per year, $5,000 for a membership fee, $5,000 to give our cemetery chairman a seat on the board. Our cemetery chairman is also the president of Happy Girls and has served on the chamber's subcommittees. I brought this issue to our board's attention shortly after becoming treasurer, pointing out that this is not the way we should be spending cemetery funds, and it appears to be a conflict of interest for our chairman. I tried to change our policies for funding these nonprofits within our board and was getting nowhere, so I sent a letter to the newspaper a year ago. In December of 25, 3 months after my letter, the State of Wyoming Department of Audit sent a letter to our board. It stated, based on consulting with the Attorney General's office, the expenditures in question, it appeared that they fell outside allowable cemetery expenditures. Our attorney said, based on the Department of Audit's letter, the Wyoming statute does not define cemetery purpose. However, the statute does define cemetery district duties. In other words, we had wiggle room to do as we pleased. According to our cemetery president, our attorney contacted the Attorney General's office and spoke to the chief of staff, who informed him that there was nothing that could be done to us as a board if we continue to fund these nonprofits, but that they would put a note in our file. Our attorney expressed displeasure with the state interfering with special districts and told our president that we were free to do as we pleased. I disagree with our attorney supporting our boards continue to fund nonprofits, but stating that we can't provide burial plots for destitute veterans, even though our bylaws allow providing for the poor. Without any legislative action, it appears our board will continue to fund nonprofits. Thank you.
Thank you for that testimony. I just have a quick question of how much in reserves does a cemetery district have? I heard quite a bit.
47 million.
Did I hear you right? 47 million.
Yes.
Wow. Any other questions? For Pete, I didn't catch the last name, but for
Dean Baumhoff.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dean. Any yep, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that testimony. That's interesting. Sounds like a money laundering operation, put it lightly. Did you say they give, or just last year, they gave $10,000 to the local economic development, and then they paid one of the members of your board to be on the board of the economic development, $5,000? Would you kind of just explain that again real quick?
Okay, the membership is 5,000, and then you move up membership, I guess is how they do it, but an extra 5,000. So we give 10,000, and with that extra 5,000, our president gets a seat on their board.
I see.
Any other questions? Yeah, Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Von Hoff, for being here. I appreciate your time. My question is, do you know or can you recall any time on the board where they denied the charity care for destitute veterans?
Mr.
Yes.
von Baumhoff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, it was about 2 months ago.
Mr. Chairman, a follow-up.
Yes, yes.
Has it happened other times, or is there other charity care that the cemetery district should be providing that you're aware of that they're not providing for the community?
No.
Yes, Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you guys could suspend that mill levy essentially for that cemetery district if you've got more funds. Then is that county commissioners or does it have to go to the voters, I guess? Is that on the ballot? I guess I don't understand that totally, but it seems like I remember I was on the Downtown Development Authority a long time ago, 20 years ago. And, you know, there's a district that has a quarter cent or a quarter mil or whatever it was. And we suspended that when we had funds that were plenty for the operations that we had going on there, and just gave everybody in the district a tax holiday. So you guys just continue to build those reserves in there with that mill levy, and you're building a war chest in there to spread the wealth to other entities, it looks like. Is that a good way to put it?
Mr. von Baumhoff.
That is, I guess, that is a way to put it. The fact is, we are going to be opening another cemetery in the next 8 to 10 years. And the cost to open that, we've got the land bought, but the cost to open it, they figured around $50 million. So we're awful close to that. And but that is what that money is put away for.
Thank you. I'm going to go to LSO. Is that your understanding? I know on the fire districts, I think they were, when I was on the board, it was 3 mills, but I think it was a max. But do you have any answer to that, or do you have that answer?
Yes, we can go up to 3 mills, and I'm sorry, but right now we're about 3/4 of 1 mill, so we're not taking that much. But we could go up to 3 mills if we wanted. And that's basically, if we just said, that's what we want, we got it.
Okay, I think that was what Senator Ide was asking. So we clarified that. You can do up to 3 and you are currently doing lower. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Baumhoff? And I think I have a couple online. I'm not watching. I'm going to go to Rachel Williams first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, you mentioned the AG provided an opinion regarding the use of funds. Can you read us the opinion? Do you have that available or summarize it, or could you provide that to the committee?
Mr. Baumhoff,
I guess I don't quite understand that.
did you get a letter from the AG or was it somebody else that you could read us?
Yes, I don't have it. I put it in my file that
you guys.
We have it.
yeah. It's either the third one, second or third one in.
And Chairman Larson, it might be in the packet that the in-person members have, but as far as the ones online, I know Clarissa was working on getting things sent out, but there were 2 documents that said she would have to get to them later. I'm not sure if that's one of those, but I just wanted to let the committee know that.
Do you currently have the AG one and have the ability to read it? I can't find it.
Might take us just a moment and we can dig through and we will try to find that if that is available.
Yes, please. Okay, I think that'd be fine. If you'd want to go ahead and read that, and your name was
Rolf Aaron's.
Rolf Evans.
Aaron's.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, yeah, if you'd read it to us.
Sure. This is the letter dated May 12th, 2026. There's a hard copy that I gave to all of you. I assume this is what Dean is referring to. Dear Mr. Craigo, this letter is a reference to your December 1, 2025 letter. In that letter, you posed a question, what constitutes cemetery purpose? Is this correct, Dean?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Based on consultation with the Attorney General's office, Wyoming statute does not specifically define cemetery purpose. However, the statute does define cemetery district duties as maintaining facilities, beautification, interring human remains, and any necessary operating expenses associated with these duties. See Wyoming statute 35-8-103, 35-8-303, and 35-8. Need my glasses. 323. Looking at the expenditures in question through this lens, it would appear they fall outside allowable cemetery expenditures. If you have any further questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact us. And the gentleman was, I think he was here earlier, Mr. Cummings. I signed it.
Do we want Mr. Cummings to come forward? And this letter was addressed to Mr. Craigo. I don't know if he has a comment here in a bit, or you want to do it right now? Okay. Representative Williams, do you have a follow-up? No. Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is really this simple. How do we have $47 million in reserves? And does it really cost that much to build a new cemetery?
Is that directed to someone in particular, Mr. Baumhoff?
Yes.
Mr. Baumhoff.
Okay, according to our folks in Denver that plan cemeteries and give us our information, that's what they tell us it's going to cost. And so that's why that number came up.
Follow-up?
Quick follow-up.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many people are getting buried versus cremated?
Probably 60. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
About 60% are cremation now over the standard burial.
follow up?
No, wait a minute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Valmhoff? I don't see any, so we'll move on.
Mr. Chairman.
Speak real close to the mic so everybody can hear you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Audit Committee.
And-
My name is Faye Mackey, a lifelong Campbell County taxpayer. I am concerned about the expenditures of the Campbell County Cemetery District in the way of memberships that they are buying for one of the trustees on the board, Mr. Jim Hastings. I believe that it is definitely a conflict of interest as he sits on the board of these nonprofits also. I believe that the cemetery's trustees, when elected, have to sign a conflict of interest policy and financial disclosure every year upon taking office. If this was done, then they would not be voting on or making comment to the memberships, as he would not even be allowed to nominate or suggest the renewing of the memberships, as this would be a conflict of interest. But it is happening. And I wrote Mr. Barry Crago, the cemetery district lawyer, a letter in November of 2025 that's included in your packet, stating that this board member had violated the bylaws and this was a violation of said bylaws. I am referencing bylaw Article 5, Section 1, Expenditure Line 3 of the Campbell County bylaws, which states, the board shall not give credit, loans, or donations to or in aid of any individual except for the necessary support of the poor. Article 5, Section 3 of the Campbell County Cemetery bylaws also states, no board member shall use public funds, time, personnel, facilities, or equipment for his or her private benefit or that of another unless authorized by law. I am here today to testify that I do not believe that this use of buying memberships by the cemetery into these nonprofits is beneficial to the public. The cemetery board is also giving donations to random nonprofits. That is not the duties of the Special Cemetery District's purpose set forth by legislative statutes. What I find appalling is a situation came up from a request from the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, where they were requesting that the board, from the board 10 plots together so that they could bury veterans that did not have family or was not able to afford the burial, and the VFW was funding the burial. A consideration of reduced price or plots together in proximity was requested. With a $44 million fund to draw from, I am sure that the cemetery could afford to give the VFW the plots, which would be roughly around $750 or $1,100. But after much discussion, they decided that they could not give the plots to the VFW because they would be giving to a nonprofit, even though they just gave $10,000 to the Energy Capital Economic Development Corporation, also known as ECEDC, and that was for membership paid every year, not just one time. Finally, after much discussion, Trustee Berquist said that he would write a check and pay out of his pocket the cost and cover the plots that the VFW needed. I was stunned that the board chairman, Jim Hastings, had so little disregard for the veterans of the community. The cemetery used to pay $5,000 a year for a membership, but it was raised to $10,000. Then Jim Hastings could get a seat on the board, which he serves on today. The amount spent to date for the ECEDC membership is a staggering $71,200 since year 2020. Why? Why does the cemetery board need a seat at the table of economic development? I can't answer that because the cemetery duties are to maintain the cemetery and bury the dead in accordance with the state bylaws and statutes and nothing else. If Mr. Hastings wants to sit on the board, he needs to dig out of his own checkbook and pay for it. It is not the responsibility of the citizens of Campbell County. The cemetery board also gave $5,400 membership money to a nonprofit named Happy Girls Don't Do That, which Trustee Hastings also sits on the board of. From January 1st, 2020 to date, August 14th, 2026, the total given to nonprofits is a staggering $104,753.93. I don't believe the taxpayers of Campbell County realize how much money has been spent on memberships and donations. This has got to stop. We have raised concern and voices our opinions in public comments that never make it into the official public record of the cemetery district. By testifying here today, I want my voice heard into an official public record, my objections to the spending of my money. Our voices and objections in public hearing after public hearing have fallen on deaf ears of Trustee Hastings, Berkowitz, Hurley, Myers, and Ehrman. Trustee Baumhoff is the only trustee who has objected and tried to stop this reckless spending. This is not the purpose of the cemetery. Please make these laws specific as to the spending of taxpayer money given to special districts. Thank you for letting me testify here today.
Thank you for that testimony. And is there any questions for Ms. Mackey? Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you for coming and bearing and giving us your testimony. As I heard you reference the $71,200, is that listed somewhere on their public documents that we could be able to verify?
I got this off of the records of the cemetery. So yes, they are where the checks were written to these individuals or these nonprofits. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to Senator McCune first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So how many other groups have they given money to?
Several. Oh, sorry.
Ms. Mackey.
Sorry. Several groups. And I can get that information too. The biggest share of it went to the economic development. And then it went down there all the way down to a group of $150. So when a group comes before or requests funding from the cemetery board, they just say yay or nay and give it to them. And I'm afraid if the laws aren't more specific, that they're going to just slide it under advertising, because the cemetery has no need for advertising that way. I know that the Happy Girls don't do that. The way they got the $5,400 was that they were able to use the cemetery logo on their publications. And I don't understand that.
Follow up?
Quick follow-up. Some of it go to the Chamber of Commerce?
Ms. Mackey?
Yes, it does.
Wow.
Any other questions? Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not to get too much in the weeds here, you've got a specific question here, the why question. Why does the cemetery board need a seat at the table of the economic development? I mean, that one, has anybody asked specifically and had anything in writing back? I mean, why do you need a seat at the table of economic development? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Mackey?
I have never been given a reason, and I don't think that the public knows. And
Yes.
maybe there was discussion in board meetings. I don't know.
Mr. Ahrens, I see you're waving.
Yeah, apologize. I'm doing the best with this format. In that topic was discussed, I have the meeting minutes, which I gave to all of you, so you can see it without any spin. Rusty Bell is the CEO of this economic development group, and there's a short statement in here. Rusty Bell explained that bringing in economic development growth is a way to maintain and grow the tax base, and that directly affects the cemetery district because the cemetery district depends on a mill levy for funding. That's the statement that kind of answers the question. As far as the seat on the board, I can't speak to that.
Thank you. Any other, Mr. Baumhoff, sorry.
No, that is correct. That's what we're told is they keep the value of our county high, and that makes it easier, which is, I think, makes no sense, because if we wanted 50,000, or if we want 100,000, or if we want 1,000,000, we just ask for that anyway. So it really doesn't make any difference what the value is, but that's what we're told.
Any other questions for Ms. Mackey? I don't see any. Representative Knapp. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for all three of you coming down. I had a question for Mr. Vomhoff. Are there contracts, are there written contracts to show what the money is going to, like if it's for membership, is there a contract for membership? And if it's for advertising, is there a contract for advertising, or is it just donations?
Mr. Vomhoff.
As far as the Happy Girls, the advertising, when I first got on there, it would just be a check. I mean, it would be, they asked for it, and there was also set up that there was a special committee called the Marketing Committee that I wasn't on. And anyway, I tried to get on it, and we fought back and forth, and finally they disbanded it. And they have the marketing person come to our board meetings. And so now I can see what's going on. But what happened, it was, there'd be a check. I'd be going through the bills, and there'd be a check, $300, $150, $400 that went to Happy Girls for us. What is this? Well, they had a tea, so we went ahead and gave them money for this. Well, you didn't ask. Well, they have money in what they call they're advertising for in the marketing, and that's where it would always come out of. And as far as the membership, we have a membership, and we have a membership with the Chamber of Commerce, and that's $770. And then they have a mixer, and then that's an extra $400. So it amounts to $1,170 a year. And then the economic development, that's 10,000 even. And that's been that way ever since I've been under. And it was 5,000 before I got on there. And actually day I got elected, the next day they had a meeting, and I wasn't at that meeting, but that's when they went ahead and gave Jim a seat and raised it another $5,000. So I hope that answers your question.
Follow-up, Representative Knapp. Any?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator McEwen. You might be muted.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep. Unmute. You're good.
Okay. I'm curious. What kind of advertising does a cemetery board do?
Mr. Vomhoff.
Well, that's a very good question. They have weddings at the cemetery, and that's, I guess, the way that they say that they do their advertising for these weddings. That's really the biggest thing. And then we also have the concert series where we have concerts for 6 weeks through the summer. And that's done a lot on donations from people. And that's kind of a push-pull kind of thing, that there's enough people that donate for that kind of evens out. And then there's also the marketing director that we pay $30,000 a year for, that offsets that comes out of our regular budget. That, I mean, the little series that we have, the concert series, just generates enough to take care of itself. The $30,000 has to come from our board.
So quick follow-up. If I may, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So now we have a cemetery that's producing weddings and concerts. And they have 47 million of the taxpayers' dollars to do it. And I get it. You said a lot of it's donated, but it doesn't make sense to me. What do you think about that?
Is that directed to Ms. Mackey?
Dean Vomhoff.
Okay. Please, Mr. Valmoff.
Well, it doesn't actually make sense to me either, and that's why I'm here.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to the donations to the nonprofits, specifically the one to Happy Girls Don't Do That. It appears, I'm looking at all their sponsors on their website, and it appears this is the only district in Campbell County that's donated as a sponsor. And the founder is somebody by the name of Melinda Perry. Can you tell me, is there any relationship between any of your district board members to Ms. Perry?
Mr. Valmoff.
No, no relation. I know that Jim and Miss Perry are friends, and he's the president of that board. But that's any more relation than that, I don't know.
I think we're going to move on. Is there any other questions for Ms. Mackey? If not, we'll go to testimony from Mr. Ahrens. Please.
Thank you. So the purpose of my comments in summary is I want to provide background on why I'm requesting audits of the cemetery funding, the cemetery itself, the funding of Campbell County Economic Development Corporation, and ECED itself. That's the Economic Development Group. That's this big package you have. I'm not going to go through all that. That's just a summary of what I'm presenting to you.
Okay, can you speak closer to the mic?
Yes,
so
I'm sorry.
everybody can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. I put in the packet, this is just for background. In my packet, it's attachment 1, and that big, huge thing I gave you, just 7 pages of cemetery meeting minutes from about a year ago. And it shows a good discussion of everything we're here for today, the nonprofits, funding of ECED. And I wanted you to see the original document without any commentary from me. In that meeting, I read before what ECED told that it's to get the property values up, to get the tax base up, to get more revenue. I don't think Dean touched on this, and I'll refer over to him about when this new cemetery is going to be built. I think it's sometime down the road. He can speak to that, but I don't think it's imminent. But so my concern as a taxpayer is $45 to $50 million, and they're still collecting money. That's my question. Should I continue or should I? Okay, just direct me. This is new. The Department of Audit sent a letter to the cemetery some time ago. We talked about that. And I won't repeat. I'm going to try to speed this up. Dean covered some of this. The cemetery just a couple of weeks ago, with the objection of Mr. Vomhoff, has resumed funding ECED in the Chamber of Commerce. So just as FYI, and I don't think, again, but you heard the commentary, I don't think that's in scope. The information in the third item, I have this table. A lot of this I had to get from public record requests. You can't just get this information. I had to send requests because it's not generally available. In short summary, I'm talking now about ECED. This is an entity that the cemetery funds. And in that August meeting, Mr. Hastings referred to these 6 groups. About $2 million has gone to ECED. And I can't get a number for Chamber of Commerce because I can't really do a public record request to them. So I don't have that number. The hospital, the Campbell County Health Hospital District, is millions of dollars in debt, and they are funding ECED. As you see the numbers here, I just got this from public record request. That's a concern to me if we have a hospital in the red taking taxpayer money. That's a side note, but I want to get that to you guys. My fourth item, ECED does not fully disclose its financials, and I put in a full report from them. This also I had to get through public record requests, and I'm going to read just one short snippet in here. Management has elected to omit substantially all of the disclosures and the statement of cash flows required by GAAP accounting in the United States of America. If the omitted disclosures and statement of cash flows were included in the financial statements, they might influence the user's conclusion about the organization's financial positions, results of operations, and cash flows. And I know you guys talked at length about GAAP. I don't want to have you guys repeat all that. They've received close to $2 million in funding, and they don't tell us, there's no transparency into this. And some of that, it's taxpayer money. And we've heard, the president of the cemetery board also sits on as an officer of the ECED board. I've included the full document for you guys to review. I don't want to go through all that. Economic Development files Form 990 every year, and I've included a copy of that for your review. They show over $5 million in assets, 3 employees, and I'll just leave the commentary there. I don't want to go down too much in the weeds. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to hear them.
Any questions for Mr. Ahrens? Senator Ride.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here and your due diligence, your effort to maybe expose things that are not fully, get a little light on the darkness here. I don't know what to think of all of this. It just seems like the cemetery board's going down a path of just spreading the wealth wherever they feel like it, unrelated to the cemetery. Have you spoke, or do you have open meetings there at the cemetery where people can voice their opinion and push back against what looks like laundering here of running people to the economic development and Chamber of Commerce? And how do you elect your officers? I guess is maybe not a question for you, but it looks like there needs to be some accountability within the board there and the chairman. Thank you.
Don't know if Mr. Ahrens can answer that.
Yeah.
You can. Okay.
So the cemetery board meeting, the cemetery meetings do have a public comment. I've commented, Ms. Mackey has commented, and others. I've spoken directly with cemetery board members, including the president. I've spoken at city council and Campbell County commissioner meetings as well, questioning ECED and what's happening there. And so that to answer your question. So yes, I have been outspoken. Others have commented on it as well.
Thank you. The other part of the question was how they're elected. Mr. Baumhoff, you.
Yeah, they're elected public election. We have 3 every year. It's a 4-year term, and there's 4 of us on the board, and then of course it staggers every 2 years, and so 3 of them are coming up right now for election this fall.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Senator or Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whichever one of you might be able to answer it. With this $2 million contribution to Wright, was that to further a cemetery? Is there land being purchased there? Do you know what that was for?
Mr. Baumhoff.
I can comment on that. We went ahead and built a shelter and put roads in there. It was just kind of an old dirt path is about all it was. And we had the money, and that's what the money is for, not for economic development. And so we went ahead and talked about it, and we've got the company out of Denver to go ahead and plan it, set it up for us. And then we went ahead and implemented that this last year.
Follow up? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier it was mentioned that you have approximately $47 million and you're looking to open a new cemetery, and you're told that that should take approximately $50 million. With the money that's being given away, does the cemetery then have another reserve account that they're looking at being able to continue their expenditures with?
Mr. Baumhoff?
Okay, what we have is it's probably about 35 million that is actually in a fund for opening that new cemetery. And the rest goes into funds for replacement of a building, replacement of this and that. And so basically, I guess every dollar has a spot where it goes, but that's how it's set up. And so there's really 37 million in there for that new cemetery.
As being treasurer, I think you stated your mill levy, is it 3/4
Yes,
of a mill?
yes.
Does that cover the expenses for 1 year? Is that what that's basically doing?
Oh, yeah, actually more than that.
Senator Ride.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick question. I think maybe Ms. Mackey, you pointed it out, or I can't remember exactly who said it, but $30,000 a year for a marketing director. What are they marketing? The weddings and the parties out there, or what do you need a marketing director for at a cemetery? Just out of curiosity.
Ms. Mackey.
May I address that, please?
Yes.
Okay, we do have a very beautiful cemetery, and a portion of our cemetery has got a waterfall and has got where a person could have an outdoor funeral there if you don't want to have a lot of fanfare, just a private ceremony. And the columbarium where the people that cremated are buried there too. So it is very beautiful. And so the marketing director in January went to the bridal show at Camplex to see about getting people to be married there. I always claimed it was Merriam and Barium all at the same time, but anyway, it is a very beautiful cemetery. So they do have weddings there. They have maybe, I asked, $30,000 to pay the marketing director. We have maybe 3 to 5 weddings a year, maybe at the most. But they do have concerts in the park, which they call that. And they do have concerts up there, which a lot of people, in my opinion, and I agree, it's disrespectful because the columbarium is right there, and you got a party going on right there with a band and music and everything. And I thought it was disrespectful, but the marketing director goes out and markets that, gets people to come in. So that is what they consider justifying their $30,000 a year for the marketing director. Other than that, I don't know why we would need a marketing director, really, but.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're planning this new cemetery. Where's that going to be located?
Mr. Baumhoff.
Okay, it's over on, Spring Hill Road. We already have bought about 200 acres over there, and that's already paid for. And we're doing a project right now is putting a well in and then running, which is right across the highway. And we just bought that land for this past year. And the reason for buying that is we wanted to put a deep enough well in, and we had to get it outside of the city limits where the other wells are. So legally it had to be just a mile or half a mile away from the other well. So we were able to buy this 2 acres, our little plot, which it'll be in about it was actually being about 20 acres, but we'll just use about 2 for our little well and our shed and whatever. But that's what we have. And then we'll run water underneath the road.
How many people can be buried on that?
Mr. Baumhoff.
What was that? How many people?
How many people can be buried on that? Go through the chair, please.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, think it's around 200 acres, and a lot of it, about 100 acres of it that is furthest east, there's coal right underneath it, so it won't be able to be used. And that was actually purchased about 20 years ago. And then there's probably about 70 or so that is right up next to the road, and that's where the cemetery is supposed to be.
Follow up and let's see if we can get this going. We got other stuff to do too.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have 70 acres we can bury people on. How many people?
I guess it kind of depends on how they're going to be buried, because they'll be set up in plots, and whether it's, they're cremated, that they can hold, 4 to a regular site, or however they decide to do it. So I can't really give you the amount. Kind of depends on how it's set up at that time, of whether it's cremation or actual burial, body burial.
Senator McEwen, you follow up?
One quick follow-up, Mr. Chairman. How many people could we bury there that weren't cremated?
Mr. Baumhoff, it's getting pretty technical, but
I really can't tell you. I don't really have that information. I can get it to you though.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Knapp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this obviously, the question has already gone to the Attorney General. Was this listed as a material weakness in the audit at any given time on the expenditure of funds?
Do you have that answer, Mr. Baumhoff?
No. I mean, it doesn't appear to be.
Doesn't, okay.
I mean, that's what I got out. That wasn't what it covered.
Good with that, Mr. Representative Knapp?
Yes, and that might be a question for the auditors here, but.
Any other questions for these folks? And thank you for being here and coming down and visiting with us. Is there any other questions? Looks like we're good. We're good to go. Thank you for being here and the information you provided.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like Senator McEwen just threw a hand up.
Oh, Mr. McEwen, Senator.
Oh, now Mr. McEwen.
I corrected.
I still want to thank all of them for coming down. And I get it. I asked some pointed questions. So thank you all. Sorry I couldn't be there today.
Yes, thank you.
That's about it.
Are there any comments on what we just discussed? Does anybody want to come forward? Mr. Crago.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so I can't really comment as an attorney because I represent the board, not any individual member on the board of the Campbell County Cemetery District. And so I answer to them. My ethical rules do not allow me to comment without approval of my client, which I don't believe they knew about this, or we would have, I'm sure I would have been here with a whole nother set of clients. And so, but I can comment as a senator and as a constituent of the state of Wyoming, that if you are going to have these kind of questioning or bring up these sorts of things on the agenda, that you include the entire district, not just one person. Let the whole district know. So at least then we could have an actual discussion and get into all of the facts behind this particular issue, not just one side. And so I think going forward, that's a good thing to think about from a process point of view, because today we're only going to get one side of the story. We're not going to get it all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Crago, and I agree. I think this came forward, I don't know, this morning is when I heard about it. So Representative Knapp.
And this kind of, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment. This kind of fell under the last subject that we had, as it deals to material weaknesses in an audit. I did contact the board, president or board chairman, Jim Hastings, and offered for him to come down if he wanted to. But I told him Mr. Crago or Senator Crago was going to be here and could probably answer whatever questions. And we did mention this at the last meeting. Senator McEwen brought up the cemetery. And so we had the Department of Audit just forward us any communications back and forth between them, the attorney, and the Attorney General. And so just that we had FYI, I don't know that there was any action proposed for this, but definitely it fit under just the audits themselves. What is a material weakness, and what are the obligations when we find something? Is it forwarded on to the Attorney General? And if it has there been resolution to it? So thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Knapp. And I should have got you in here sooner on that. Sorry. Thank you for those comments. Senator McEwen.
We've been working on this for at least 9 months. It's not a shocker. That's really all I want to say.
Thank you. All right. I think we're gonna, if the committee's okay with that, I think if we took a break, it might be a good idea. 10 minutes, 3:35. We'll come back to order. And I think there's some in the committee that would like to continue with this discussion that we're having right now on the cemetery district and maybe bring the Department of Audit back up and have a question with them. And then we may be going back to number 5, because I think there's some that say we didn't cover that. So we'll start with Mr. Chavez, and I think Chairman Knapp, hopefully he's on here, and I think he has some questions, I think. Chairman Knapp, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, so the chairman asked in our last segment there, what, as far as material, a material weakness goes under the law versus a material weakness under, say, timing or when an audit gets turned in or whatever. And you asked for some, or the committee asked for some examples of what that might look like. And this to me might be one of them, because you have a question of, I understand advertising and I understand memberships even, but donation to nonprofits would be another issue. And if you have an interpretation from the Attorney General, what is the process there? Would that then become a material weakness under law that you would list in their audit, or and refer back to the Attorney General? Or how would you go about seeing something like this?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chavez, yes.
Representative Knapp. So it probably wouldn't go under a material weakness. I'll say like a CPA audit, financial statement audit probably isn't going to look at something like this. This is something that we would look at if we did an audit. And so we wouldn't say material weakness. We would just say that it appears that these funds were spent not in accordance with law. And so in this case, we've talked to the AG's office about it. If I understood what the board member said, is the AG's office said not within their purview to do anything. So I don't know, what that next, I don't know if the county attorney has purview. I don't know where that would go next.
Chairman Knapp.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So we've talked in the past about that particular authority and whether your department needs that authority. Because our job here is to find out, not necessarily investigating a specific thing, but to fix processes and to look at how things were meant to flow under law and what changes can be made in law to help accommodate that. So when you run into a situation where you feel like you need enforcement and the Attorney General's saying it's not under our purview, where do we go from there? Does your department need more authority to hold accountable anything, or does that still in your interpretation fall under the Attorney General's office?
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Knapp. So I think if you go down that road for the Department of Audit, I think there's some issues with that, because when you make the audit function the enforcement function, then you can start to have independence issues. I think it does need to come from the legal side of things when you're talking about a violation of law. Now, what that looks like, I can't speak to. I think that'd probably be a better question for, the AG's office or county attorneys or some entity that has that has an enforcement function.
Follow up, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more follow up to that. So in the case of, and I'm looking back towards Weston County, and that issue that we had earlier in the year where a complaint actually had to come from an elector. And in this case, would it be a complaint filed with your office to the Attorney General from a taxpayer's point of view? Or what do you think that within our current statutes in law, I'm just curious how this process is supposed to go and who's required to kind of instigate that process? Would it come from your department and just show that this needs to be looked at again from the Attorney General's point of view, or does it take somebody actually filing suit?
Mr. Chavez?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Knapp, I don't know if I know the answer to that question. I mean, this kind of originated, we saw the situation. We talked to the Attorney General's office. After that, made the determination and the notification that we didn't think it fell within statute. But again, I think where that goes, like, do we refer that to the AG's office, to a county attorney? I don't know that there's any real specified. Typically for our stuff, we're going to the AG's office. But what I think I heard was the AG's office said that's not their purview. So I don't know. Again, I think that's probably a better question for either the AG's office or county attorneys on who has what jurisdiction in terms of enforcement. I mean, we can refer stuff, but then where it goes from there, that's kind of out of our purview.
So I need to ask, do we have a copy of the Attorney General's letter, or is that somebody else has that? I don't see it in our packet.
Mr. Chairman, that was just a conversation between our offices. So, and then we drafted the letter that I think was provided.
Okay. There is no real letter, or there is not an actual letter from the Attorney General, but it was verbal.
Yeah.
Chairman Knapp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just a comment, again, I think you're right, Director. I think that we don't want to have the same department that's doing the auditing actually do the enforcing. It should be passed on to somebody else. But I also would recommend, again, because I think we had one of these other cases with one of the counties where you document everything. If there's any communication between your department and the Attorney General's office, I would always make that formal, because if something does come up, we certainly want to have that documentation. So just a recommendation. Thank you.
Mr. Chavez, no response. Committee, where do you want to head with this? And maybe I'll ask Chairman Knapp. Here we have Representative Williams. We'll go there first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we had a pretty specific request from a constituent to our committee requesting an audit. I don't recall if there was a specific type of audit. Looking at my notes, I don't have anything on that, but I guess my question is under our purview, I'm curious what LSO would say as to what the process would be in the event that the committee decides to move forward with a motion for an audit.
Can we get a comment from Mr. Anderson or Mr. Petrie?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I fully understand, but who would be conducting the audit? I mean, this committee has the ability to do some audits through our LSO, depending on our budget and restraints and so forth. But I guess I'm not fully understanding who would be conducting the audit, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Williams.
Thank you. So maybe perhaps bring back the constituent that came forward in front of the committee. They requested a specific audit on the county, the economic development, the cemetery district, obviously there's different types of audits. I'm just curious, before a motion is made, what direction we can go and what specific type of audit the constituent's requesting.
Representative Williams, I think they left, so they're not in the room. Any other suggestion or question? Committee, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm kind of confused like Representative Williams. It sounds like a hot potato. You know, the AGs wants to not comment on it. And, you know, there's obviously some walks like a duck, it talks like a duck. We need to get behind the curtain here and what that process looks like. You would think that the AG's office would make comment on that. I don't know with you guys right here. You've turned it over to them essentially. You guys did the audit. You can't enforce it. Who can enforce it? And how do we get them to enforce it?
Do you have an answer for that or help?
I think that is the question, like who has purview over it once, like, because we have no enforcement authority. So I think that is the question of who has purview over it. And then, you know, just my thought is whether it's referred to the AG's office or a county attorney, then they're going to have discretion as to what cases they pursue and what they don't. So, I mean, that's it's beyond what our purview is.
I see Chairman Knapp's hands up. Maybe he's got a suggestion, but yeah, maybe we got to find a citizen that'll bring the complaint.
Yeah, my question is to the director. So I like things to be official. So you mentioned that this is not a material weakness. It wouldn't be listed as a material weakness. When you had the opinion that those funds were not being used necessarily in every regard the way that it should be under statute, what does that become? Is that a permanent documentation on the record of the entity, or did it just end up in a phone call to the AG's office and they replied and that was it? What is the official, I guess, what's the official stance in an audit when you come across that?
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Knapp. So we have not done an audit. So we saw the situation. We said, don't know if that's okay. Consulted with the AG's office. After that consultation, determined probably doesn't fit within statute, drafted a letter and sent that to the entity. That's where things stand at this point.
Okay.
Yes, and I just wanted to clarify that letter was sent May 12th, as far as I see. And then maybe a letter to Chairman Knapp on August 12th. Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry to interrupt you there. You're going down the same path I am, but so all that's come out of the AG's office is a verbal or no verbal, just nobody even answered you, essentially. Don't you deserve an answer on whose purview that is from the AG's office and how we go about doing what they apparently is not in their purview?
Mr. Chavez.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, I'd say we haven't asked the question. We're at the point where we sent the letter to them that says, we don't think this falls within statute. That's where we say we haven't asked the AG. I was just saying the previous people up here had indicated that they reached out to the AG's office. And if I understood it correctly, was the AG's office, if the board continues to vote to do it, the AG's office can't do anything.
I don't know. Is there any other questions? I guess I do have a question that I'm going to ask LSO staff, is there a possibility of another meeting? And I guess maybe you can answer that, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what the budget is left. I don't know if Mr. Petrie knows or not. Assuming there's budget left, that you could do another meeting. If not, we'd have to request funds from Management Council first.
Okay, I think this is probably the time as a committee to discuss if we think this is something that needs to be dealt with, and is there a process that this, that we could change statute to get this so we can figure out stuff. I don't know how to word that, but is that something the committee wants to do? And I see Chairman Knapp's hands up.
Mr. Chairman, I would probably speak in favor of that, even if it's only a half-day meeting or a meeting by Zoom, only because I think Mr. Crago is correct in that I'd like the opportunity for their board to be able to answer questions and to give notice to the public that this will be I guess, an official question to see what to do next. And we may want to have something at least in our minds now drafted for next meeting. I don't know that it's going to be a bill necessarily, but at least in process what the next step is.
I think if Mr. Anderson can check that out, I think we should go with the advice from our chairman. And Mr. Chairman, would you ask, you're asking for both parties to come and visit and Department of Audit, and would we need an Attorney General, someone in the Office of the Attorney General to come too?
Yeah, and I think my motion would be to ask the committee if they approve requesting from Management Council an additional half day.
If needed.
If needed.
There's a motion for that. Is I don't know if we have to have a vote or not. Is I guess all those in favor of that, just say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Anybody, nay? I think that's a direction. Senator Ide.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Would that be, where would that meeting, would it likely be in Gillette? Just out of curiosity, since that's where the issue is, or would, just a quick thought there. Thank you.
I'm gonna maybe leave that with Chairman Knapp and we'll discuss that a little bit, but I don't want it in Cheyenne, so that's my comment. All right, are we ready to go forward? Any other discussion on this item? Don't see any. Okay. We'll talk about a half a day maybe on, we'll figure out where or what or when. I've heard comments that some of the committee wants to go back to the number 5 is topic, and maybe I didn't cover it totally, or we didn't. So I guess we're headed back that direction, and I think they're probably correct. That came specifically from Representative Lean. And so we're on topic number 5. That's 1 o'clock. If we're missing some people to testify, I don't think we are. We got Johnson County here and their members. So Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My questions are more for Johnson County than the Department of Audit, just as processes and the tickets and those kind of documents that we received in review.
Okay, that'd be great if we can get Johnson County to come up here, and hopefully they'll discuss this item with us. I probably skipped over that earlier, and I'm sorry. Would you please introduce yourselves one more time? And I think we have an addition.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Novotny, Chair of the Johnson County Board of Commissioners.
Scott Behringer, Johnson County Road and Bridge Supervisor.
Mr. Chairman, Barry Crago, Deputy County Attorney for Johnson County.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm just going to go right to Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen, or us, the committee. As I reviewed the materials to come before this committee today, I received some of these invoices. And so I did a little bit of math. And as I began to look it over, I began to wonder what I'm totaling up is 37,420 cubic yards with an overpayment of 17,580 yards, which is approximately $128,000 in overpayment. We asked specifically for, in this process, could you walk me through the difference between paying for crushed gravel and paying for gravel that is in weight but not crushed? Can you kind of walk me through the process of what it looks like when you're paying for gravel as a county?
Mr. Herringer? Herringer, sorry. Is that who's going to talk or?
He is, Mr. Chairman. I would just note that those aren't numbers that really correlate with us. I mean, we listened to previous testimony. There was testimony about 37,000 cubic yards versus 40,000 cubic yards, which we're prepared to answer all those questions. I don't know about the math that Representative Lean is talking about, but Scott Mr. Perringer is the expert in Johnson County on all this stuff, so he can probably answer most of the representative's questions, I would assume.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perringer.
Representative Lean.
Please put the mic closer.
Okay.
Make sure everybody can hear you. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Could you walk me through the process of when we pay for gravel as a county? Are you paying for it crushed? Are you paying for it whole and then crushing it? What does that look like for your county?
Is we have a contract with the landowner where the gravel pit is. We pay royalty based on the material that we crush. And then how that takes place is we come in with a crushing contractor that crushes that material for us. And then at the end of the crushing contract, then the landowner is paid the royalty and then the crushing contractor is paid for his services.
Follow up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So these tickets that were produced to this committee, I'm not sure if you have a copy of them or if I can give you mine to look at. It says like a quantity of 40,000 yards of 1 inch minus Rock River crushed in Johnson County. And then it gives you a payment and a total. So this would already be crushed gravel, or is this the royalty? And
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, on that invoice, is that listing as crushed material or royalty?
Mr. Chairman, it says 40,000 yards of 1 inch minus river rock crushed in Johnson County Rule Pit.
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, that is for the crushing of that material. That is a payment made to the contractor.
Follow up, Representative Lean.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm looking through my notes. Mr. Crago referenced that you came prepared today to talk about some of the allegations on the weights that were referenced before. Could you kind of give us a summary over what your side of the story is, since we had already heard from the other party?
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, is where we're at with this. It's a question over how much gravel was actually crushed. We had a contract to crush up to 40,000 cubic yards of gravel, which we crush it by the cubic yard because that's the easiest way to measure that. A cubic yard of gravel is a cubic yard of gravel. So we had the contractor come in and we crushed it. We were at the end of our fiscal year. We were getting close. So I had a surveyor come in, fly the pile. They do an aerial survey of the pile, measure the pile. The pile was measured at that 37,000, whatever it was. The pile was measured at the 37,000 I think it 270, I think is what I'm seeing. It's hard to read. And then you go down to that's pile A, pile B was 430 that was crushed at that time as we hit the end of our fiscal year.
Follow up?
I may have these numbers wrong, but my recollection was that the original concern was that there was an additional payment for an estimated 17,000 and change cubic yards. And that's what supposedly the additional payment was. Does that number resonate anywhere? Does that make any sense in the numbers that you guys have? Because my understanding was that there was a difference between, there was a roughly 37,000 and change. So I'm not exact numbers, so sorry about that. But my understanding was that it was closer to, the payments added up to closer to about 55,000 cubic yards. Do those numbers make any sense with the numbers that you have?
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, yes, those numbers do make perfect sense. Is what we did is we've surveyed the pile, so we knew where we were. And then the contractor had a built scale on his equipment to measure it, the material. So we finished out the contract and crushed the rest of the amount of gravel that was due to Johnson County.
Mr. Locke.
Thank you.
Sorry, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I forgot to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, too. So anyway, so that additional 17,000 was in addition to that initial pile. Is that what you're saying? That was something that was done beyond the 37,000?
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, yes. If you look at the contract, the original contract was to crush up to, I think it was like 31,100 and some cubic yards. Then there was amendment to that contract to crush up to not to succeed 40,000 cubic yards. And then there was an amendment B that changed that contract to crush up to 55,000 cubic yards of gravel.
Representative Locke.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the question I think was in here too, and there was some question about whether there was sufficient information to fully document that difference, that additional roughly 17,400, 500 range. Is there sufficient information to make that additional payment clear? For example, whatever's appropriate, the right receipts or the right documentation to make it crystal clear where that, let me get the crystal word out of there, make it clear what that payment was for. Is that thoroughly documented? Because I think there was some question to having that information available, and I apologize, I don't have it right at my fingertips here, but your thoughts are appreciated.
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, yes. As we crush that gravel, as I said before, we measured the pile, and then we knew where we were at in the pile. That's when we added the Second Amendment B, because we knew we were close to the 40,000 cubic yards that we were doing. So then we used the belt scale and continued on and finished out the 55,000 cubic yards.
Mr. Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So all of those scale measurements are still retained and still available for review. Is that accurate?
Oh, Mr. Perringer.
Yes, we do have that way to document that amount of gravel, and how we did that is if you go to the next pit survey and look at it, which was done in 2020, the 27th of July of 2022, we had no other crushing that was involved in that pit. We only crush in that pit, it's like every 3 or 4 years. If you go back in there and look at that, then it has the amount of gravel that we had hauled out, the amount of the gravel that was in the original pile. And then if you look at the piles B, C, D, E, F, and G, and add those together, then you come up with a quantity of where we need to be.
Follow-up, Representative Locke? Nope. Any other questions? Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here to help with all of these questions that we've got here. There's one I've got just looking at this stuff. Obviously, this is clear back to 2020, but it says from June 27th, 2020 to August 18th, 2020, weight measure of 17,580 cubic yards. That's 1,750 trucks for that amount in that period of time. Does that sound correct? What is there? Is there 10 yards per truck, or is that what?
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, our trucks we have all different sizes of trucks. And it is how we come up with the volume of material that they can haul. That is based on when that truck is bought. Then we have to turn that information to YDOT and they rate those trucks for us, what they'll haul and so forth. So we have a rate for FEMA and so forth. So it just depends on which trucks were in the pit at that time and which ones were hauling and so forth. And yes, we do keep a record of where that gravel goes and so forth to each road project and so forth.
Okay. Thank you.
Follow-up? Nope.
Okay.
Any other questions? Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have some documents here that show that Mr. Crago's on record as of August 3rd. The Johnson County does not have an internal inventory spreadsheet from FY20 through FY25. Does Johnson County retain an internal control spreadsheet for your gravel and sand and such that you crush?
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, yes, we do, but we're in the middle of personnel turnover, and that's a little bit of our issue. We have a asset management program that we use that we put all that information into, which comes off timesheets and so forth, and then that is recorded into that database, which then puts it in so you can pull up those projects and so forth. Is how we track all of that.
Follow up.
Representative Lean, yes.
Given the staffing challenges that you're currently existing, how long would you think that it would, how long would you anticipate it to take to get back on track to make sure that that internal control mechanism is readily available for your assets?
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, yes, we are back on track. That's where we're at. Always in the past, we've had very, very good records and so forth. And that's part of our job is keeping track of our inventories and so forth. And I would like to say that, yes, we're on track.
Follow up? Nope. Any other questions? Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another question I have, at one point, it looks like on several occasions you did the surveys with the drone survey. What was the motivation of that additional to go to the weight tickets? And I'm probably using the wrong term, but what's the motivation for that additional payment to go to the weight tickets? And the second question is, can you provide something that verifies those weight tickets, or can you actually provide that data at some point? Because I think the management council should probably take, or not management, the audit committee here should at least take a look at that data to see what that looks like. But if you could answer those two questions, I'd appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, to answer the two questions, yes, is what we did is as we've gone on, we've started surveying our gravel pits with drone flyovers and so forth. That just a streamlining of the process to get a better handle on the way we measure our gravel and inventories and so forth. The auditors really like that. That's why we stepped up in about 22, 23 is when we started flying them. We fly our pits all now on before the June 30th in a fiscal year. So we have those current inventories. As far as going back as the tickets and stuff, that was a belt scale. I've went back, I've looked for the tickets on our end. I've had the contractor go back and look at the tickets. And basically is how we're coming up with that is what we have hauled out of the pit and went to different projects and so forth.
Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in short, you don't have the actual weight tickets. Is that accurate? Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I understood that comment. Thank you.
Mr. Perringer.
That is very accurate. We do not have weight tickets on that due to, I don't know any county that does have a scale at their pit where when they come out of their own gravel pit, they actually weigh every truckload of gravel. Usually it's measured in the pit and then it's measured by truckloads to the job. And that's how you keep track of your inventories.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just
Yeah.
a final note. Sorry, did I
Nope, you're
jump the
good.
gun on you, Mr. Chairman? Thank you. Just a quick note. It looks like you actually surveyed the first pit in at least one of the early surveys actually was July of 2020. So even before that 17,000 was measured a different way. You were actually surveying before and then after. That's why there's some confusion where those bits and pieces go in between, because you appeared to have surveyed the 37,000 and change piles, but then the additional 17,000 doesn't show up, and that's where the question comes, obviously, that's why there's a concern in there. Thank you.
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, we started flying that pit back. We opened that gravel pit in 2014 with the rules. And the first thing we did is we went in there and we flew that pit. And the reason why for doing that, it wasn't, you go in, you survey the pit, then you know what your floor is. And by having a survey of the floor, so when you do your next fly, you have the humps, the low spots in that floor. So then by doing that initial first fly, then your next flights on your gravel piles are more accurate because you have that beginning data. And that was just in 2014 is when we started using the aerial flyovers. Part of the reason there is every time you do one of those aerial radio flyovers, they're pretty spendy. You're about $5,000.
Senator Ride.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just real quick, follow up on Representative Locke. And maybe I'm missing something or I didn't hear it, but it sounds like the way tickets we don't have. Can that be acquired from the vendor? Can those way tickets be acquired from the vendor, or do you think it's necessary to satisfy what the concerns are?
Mr. Perringer.
Mr. Chairman, to answer the question, weight tickets really don't have a bearing on this because we're buying that gravel by the cubic yard. When you get into weights and buy gravel by the ton, a gravel pit will vary so much in the different materials that are in that pit. And then you have to most generally is what you do is you go out and you take 3 samples in your gravel pit, and you usually use a technique where you collect a square cubic foot of gravel. You collect those, then they're taken to the lab and they're baked till they're completely dry. Then they're weighed and then they're put into average. And once you have that average, then you can go back and then you could weigh your gravel and then figure out how many pounds are in a yard of gravel, which most generally yard of gravel is going to weigh anywhere from 1.4 to 1.4 to 1.6, which as you're mining that gravel pit can change. So even with that weight type system of doing it, where you would use a weight ticket to keep track of your gravel, there's still a huge variance there. Where why we use the cubic yard system is because, like I said, a cubic yard is a cubic yard. And that's how our trucks are measured, is by the cubic yard. When we measure gravel on the road, we measure it by the cubic yard. So weight tickets aren't really that big of a process in the way we do business.
Representative Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When it comes to these weight tickets being available or not being available, it's my understanding from sitting on the Revenue Committee that sand and gravel also has to pay sales tax in the state of Wyoming. Would this vendor then retain those for their taxable entities within the state as a business? I don't know if that's for you necessarily, maybe LSO.
Mr. Craigle.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not exactly sure how that works, but because it's county gravel, there's probably no tax involved. Mr. Behringer might have a better answer.
Mr. Behringer.
Mr. Chairman, that is right. We do not pay sales tax on that product. We buy it as a raw material and then we process it and use it that way. But no, we do not pay sales tax on that.
Representative Locke.
Well, I'm not skilled with this button. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in terms of the weight tickets, you talked about the weight tickets not being important and all of that, but I guess the part that still remains, and I'm sorry, maybe I'm a little thick here. I'm just trying to make sure I understand how is the 17,000, and maybe you explained it and maybe I just didn't catch it. How is the 17,000 tons or cubic yards, sorry, not weight. How is the 17,000 cubic yards tracked, verified, number of trucks that were used? What are you using to justify that 17,000 cubic yards for payment? I guess I just wanted to make sure that's a clear picture. We had the weight tickets, now we don't, or there's some other mechanism. I just want to make sure I understand clearly so I know what I'm asking for. Thank you.
Mr. Behringer.
Mr. Chairman, in this situation, like I said, we were at the end of our fiscal year. We were trying to get the contract finished up. I had added more material to the contract and we were crushing. I had the pile measured at the end of the fiscal year and we knew that we were at the 37,000. The contractor had a belt scale on site. So we ran that, and the belt scale does not generate a ticket. A belt scale generates it's got a readout on the belt scale. Is what they do with that belt scale is they pull a truck underneath that belt scale, they load into the truck, then they take the truck to a certified scale, they weigh it, and then we come back. And then we know where we're at as far as quantities.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So normally there would be a ticket somewhere. There would be some record of that weight. So I guess I'm looking for what's the record that adds up to that 17,000 cubic yards. So,
Mr. Behringer.
Mr. Chairman, the record of that would be our flights on our pit, measuring our pits, and then also as we use that gravel on county roads, that gravel is tracked by the truckload to the different projects, and that information is recorded through our asset management program, and that's how we know that's how the double check is on the amount of gravel.
Any other questions? Any online? I think we're good. Everybody, nobody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming forward and answering the questions. Are we good with, do we have public comment on this topic? Number 5, it looks like I need to have public comment if there's any. Ask. Don't see any. Committee ready to go forward? All right. think we're on item number 6, legislative subpoena penalty. We have a bill draft and we'll ask Mr. Anderson to come forward and present that bill draft.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Josh Anderson, LSO. This is 27 LSO 114.
You put the mic closer, sorry. I know.
Sure. 27 LSO 114, working draft 0.3, legislative subpoena penalty. This is a bill that came out of this committee last year, and we discussed it at our last meeting in June, and the committee asked for it to be brought back again to this meeting. And all the bill really does, Mr. Chairman, goes into the legislative subpoena, and in the penalty, it increases the amount from $100 to $750, and then clarifies that it's imprisonment in the county jail for 6 months or both. And that makes the penalty consistent with 65306, which is the general refusal to obey a lawful subpoena. So.
Okay, that was a big question I had. So this follows other parts of the statutes on penalties for failure to come when subpoenaed.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. This would make it the same as the other example in statute.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Anderson? I'm going to ask my senator sitting next to me. I think we brought this forward and we didn't get the 2/3 vote, I think was the main issue, wasn't it, Senator Ide?
I think I messed up.
Did we? Did we somehow? Okay. Well, no, we're good. Any questions for Mr. Anderson? I don't see any. All right. We guess we got to have a public comment. Is there any public comment? I don't see any public. It's us. All right. No public comment. Nobody online? All right. Nobody online. What's the committee's desire here on this bill?
Mr. Chairman, move the bill.
Been moved, sir, and seconded by Senator Ide. Discussion. No discussion. Questions? Question be called. Okay, well, this is a roll call vote to bring this as a committee bill.
So roll call vote for 27 LSO 0114, Senator Dockstetter,
Excused.
Senator Ide,
Aye.
Senator McEwen,
Aye.
Senator Olson,
Excused.
Senator Rothfuss,
Excused.
Representative Lean,
Aye.
Representative Locke, Representative Williams,
Aye.
Representative Sherwood,
Excused.
Vice Chairman Larson,
Aye.
Chairman Knapp.
Aye.
All right. It was, is that 7-4? 7 for it and 4 excused. And this will be a bill brought, we'll bring. Okay, is there anything else the committee wants to discuss? Don't see anybody. All righty, I think we're going to call the meeting adjourned.